Hi everyone, welcome back to another truck camper video. We are again in my garage. I am sitting in my truck camper with my roof popped down, doing a recap of a lot of the building that I did before I started making video. In the previous two videos in this series, we talked about how I bought this four-wheel truck camper for about 300 bucks, how my decision-making process towards why I bought a used one and things like that. And then in the newer video since then, I talked about mounting the truck camper to my Toyota Tacoma. If you haven't checked out those videos yet, I would suggest you go check them out after this one, link in the description below. If you're new to this channel, thank you for joining us. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here and staying here with me. Today, the video topic will be some of the initial projects I had with this truck camper. Those were two main things, which was a lifter system for the roof and a propane system for some heat. We will go through the details of those, again, slideshow format. Before we get into the videos, I want to thank you. This new series is my most successful video series on YouTube so far. I am so glad so many people are finding this interesting. I will continue to make many more videos just like the one you're watching now. Videos covering things like getting into the full teardown of this camper. It was a slippery slope once I started working on things. And so how I started going about that, tearing out the roof, tearing down the walls, taking this thing down to its studs, essentially. I'll go over painting with my friends. I'll go over insulation in the roof. I'll go over new walls, all that type of discussion. Again, eventually leading up to when the video series took over and I started actually making videos documenting this build, which covers the cabinetry and then everything from there. So without any more, let's get right into the videos for today. Again, today's topics will covering the initial lifters I built for this before I redid the canvas. I'll be talking about fixing up the roof a little bit more and how that was just the beginning of the rebuild of this, and you'll literally see how this kind of rebuilding process grows from this hole in the roof. Put a new vent in, then I might as well paint the roof. If I paint the roof, I might as well paint some other things. Before you know it, we had this thing completely torn apart. So it was certainly this kind of bacterial growth that started from this vent here and eventually overcame the entire camper. But I'm pretty happy with the results in the end, so I'm glad that that's how it worked out. Then we'll also talk about the propane in the system, both fixing up the kitchen cook stove top as well as installing a Wave 3 heater. We'll go over all those details. So without any more, let's get right into this initial lifter panel. As I had mentioned previous, when I bought this camper, it had one working lifter panel in the back of the camper, but in the front, we were just brute force picking it up and shoving a 2x4 in there to hold everything together. While that worked for a few times, I quickly knew I wanted a new lifter panel. The reason for that would be A, it would be easier to lift the roof, but B, I thought it would help kind of maintain the canvas. My initial canvas, while functional, was in pretty rough shape, and I thought that if we continue to lift the roof kind of with that brute force method, I'd start to tear the canvas even more than it already was. So I thought that installing a proper lifter panel would be the best way for the whole camper system to maintain functionality. I did put in a call to my buddies over at 4-Wheel Camper inquiring about buying a new lifter panel. Mine in this camper were originally made out of plywood, and actually since then they've transitioned to using a composite material. This composite is truly some high-tech stuff, some of the best products on the market if you ask me, but that premium comes with a price. It's about a couple $100 for each panel, and like I had said previously, I only spent a couple $100 on this camper. So it wasn't really working out for my budget at the time. Additionally, the only way that they would install those lifter panels was at the factory in California. Me being in Colorado, that didn't seem like the greatest idea ever. I could, of course, just ordered a lifter panel and had it shipped to me, but A, I've heard installing them can be quite tricky because of the piano hinges, and B, the height of my camper was slightly unknown because it was so old and kind of beat up and sloping and things like that. So I just didn't think that was a good path forward. So I pivoted to a more budget-friendly option. I again turned to the website I've been building a lot of this camper with, which is wanderthewest.com. I have a full build right up there, 30 some odd pages, link in the description below. One person on that site, someone that goes by the name of WV Trad Bow, which I guess is West Virginia traditional bow hunter, if I had to guess, he had built a lifter mechanism out of EMT. I saw that. I had never bent EMT before, but I knew it was cheap and it looked like something I could handle. So leading off of his example, I started to make an EMT lifter panel for this camper. V1, because as you know, I now have a video V2, link right there, where I rebuilt the panels again using that EMT method. To get the front of the camper ready to install this EMT, I first had to remove all remnants of the previous panel. The only thing left, luckily, was one single piano hinge at the roof. Those piano hinges have, I don't know, something like 30, 40 rivets in them. So I just had to slowly drill out a bunch of rivets. I think I broke a bunch of drill bits in the process, but eventually we did rip that piano hinge off. I think it's still kicking around this garage somewhere. So if you need a big piano hinge made for this exact project, get in touch with me. I'll figure out a way to get it to you. Like I had said before, this was my first time bending conduit. I went with 3/4 inch aluminum EMT conduit. I borrowed the bender from the University of Colorado Boulder shop, thanks guys, and I got to work. I did a couple test bends, started to learn how the whole system worked, and then just went for it. One thing that's definitely not ideal about the EMT lifting panel is that 3/4 inch EMT actually takes up volume in the camper. Those piano hinge systems fold very, very small. So because of that, you lose maybe about 3/4 of an inch of space in the sleeping area. I had seen the previous folks that had made this style lifter panel before lost even more area than that, and so in order to only lose the volume of my tubing, I decided to put an extra bend in the bottom of my lifter panel so I could use traditional EMT hangers to mount it to the camper. Here's a picture of that exact thing. It will explain it a little bit more. Also, that allowed me to use that same traditional EMT 3/4 inch strap both at the bottom and top. Very simple install, just a couple of clamps up at the roof, a couple of clamps where I added some wood to the camper for a mounting point, and all of a sudden we had this 3-pivot system. Let me see how to show this. Here it is, pivoting like this, opening and closing to raise the roof. A couple of notes on this install was that because I just had kind of that EMT lifter bracket and the EMT tube inside of it, it could shift both east and west. So I had to put some screws in that EMT in order to keep it from shifting east and west too much and holding it in place. Pro tip also that I learned the hard way, that pivot point, that middle pivot point of that EMT moving has to be right in the middle. If it's not, when you lower your roof, the EMT kind of buckles together and doesn't collapse down all the way. So it's crucial that those 3 pivots are symmetrical, and then that middle pivot is halfway between the top and bottom pivot. Again, that EMT is operating kind of like a scissor where it's opening and closing to raise the roof. This method was surprisingly cheap, about 30 bucks in materials, since I did borrow the bender. If you had to buy that, that would of course influence it. It was relatively quick too. It took me just a few hours to put this whole thing together. The only drawback I would say was that EMT does take up all the volume up in my cab over space. At least my first rendition did. And so because of that, I couldn't leave my mattress up there. All right, so I had to pull my mattress down and put it down below every time I wanted to drop the roof. Not the end of the world, but also a disadvantage compared to the initial panels that the other folks had used. That is Lifter Panels 1.0. Again, I have new lifter panels in here again with that same EMT system because I added so much height to my roof when I installed new canvas. I had to make whole new lifting mechanisms. So there's a whole video about that I will link below. It's my most popular video on this channel. But this V1.0 worked exceptionally well for the first few seasons I had this camper. I want to take a quick break to acknowledge that actually that member of Wander the West, this WV Trad Bow gentleman, has since passed away, which is certainly sad. It is good to know someone had reached out to me because they had actually bought his camper and then seen my videos and we had connected with that. So a big thanks to that guy for kind of lighting the way for this EMT lifting mechanism. A lot of others have followed both his example as well as my videos, building off this concept even more. So awesome to see the positive things of the internet, which is sharing ideas, so that way we can all kind of iterate on them and use them for our own need. 2 other small projects I'm just going to go ahead and throw in here because I did these right when I got the camper. First off was the whole key situation. The keys that were actually in here had like a major recall. If I can find it, I'll link below. I won't spend too much time. But apparently like all these RV lock mechanisms, like none of them work. So I found the supplier in Knoxville or something that had this big lawsuit around it. You just tell them what keys you had and they send you whole new lock mechanisms. So I put in new lock mechanisms, got all that sorted out, which is a great thing. And then the other thing I did was install LED lights everywhere. So I just took out the old incandescent bulbs and put in great new LED bulbs. If I can find that, I will link below. I'll take a quick opportunity to let you know too, below I have a Google Doc that's shareable to all of you that has all my parts, all my Amazon links, or other links if appropriate. Go check it out. It will definitely help you follow along with my projects if you really want to use the exact same materials I'm using. All right, and now into the next major project of this video, which is a updated propane system. So this camper originally did have a propane system with the exterior access 20-pound propane tank storage area. Quick note on those, apparently you're never supposed to lock those, as well as they should be vented. That way the excess blow off propane can go somewhere safely, and also if you ever had an accident or something, first responders could get to that propane system. I've got a whole nother video about the second iteration of the propane system for this. Again, link below or up there, but here we're talking about V1 of my propane system. Like I said, we had 20-pound propane regulated, fed into the camper, going to a 2-burner stove. I wanted to use this propane line to expand it to a catalytic heater to heat this camper in the winter. The reason I decided to go with the catalytic heater was a few factors. First off, it was cheaper and just simpler. Secondly, it didn't draw any electricity, and I don't really have a robust electrical system here. I just have one simple deep cell battery, and so I didn't want to rely on kind of topping that up to keep my furnace running, like the fan. I decided to go with the Olympia Wave 3 heater for my camper the first time around. I managed to find one of those on Amazon when it was on discount for some reason for like $160, which is a great start. I used it for a while. I've since upgraded to the Mr. Heater Big Buddy, and actually hope to upgrade to the Forced Air finally. Now that I have a family, I want to keep everybody nice and toasty warm. But I did work with that Wave 3 for the first go, and I chose that really because of simplicity overall. So in order to get this Wave 3 hooked up to this camper, I had to take that regulated propane line that was in the camper area and tee it off so that I had a second port to run propane to the heater. When I started to inspect this line, I went into my stove box area and I had a bit of a surprise, and that was that we had a rubber hose going directly to the stove, right into what I would call like the hot box area. It was a bit concerning to me because I could just envision maybe cooking on the stove, some grease spilling, some hot water spilling perhaps, melting that rubber tube pretty quickly, and then you're having a major bad day. So the first thing I wanted to do was get that rubber hose out of the cooking area. So I just went to the local hardware store, got some copper pipe, got it all custom fitted. The folks at the hardware store were super helpful, and I managed to bridge that cooking hookup out of that hot zone area and then run the rubber hose to it. That copper certainly did add up a little bit. I can't remember, 30, 40, 50 bucks in copper, the Teflon coating, things like that. But it was definitely a project in the name of safety that I'm not regretting at all. I'm glad I spent the money there. Also, I'm not a plumber on that one, but I think one other thing that was wrong with the initial install was the use of Teflon tape or Teflon paste on flare fittings. I think that's incorrect. Correct me if I'm wrong, but on anything that's a flare fitting where there's going to be angled surfaces that get friction fit, you don't want any Teflon in there messing it up. If it is just normal pipe fittings that where you actually have threaded fittings coming together, that's when you want that Teflon tape. And I think you want to get the right one for propane specifically. I think it's the yellow paste, but I'm not positive. Correct me in the comments below if you do know this area a lot better than I do. Once we had that copper run safely out of kind of this hot cooking area, then I just teed it off, introduced a simple ball valve and another hose to run to my Wave 3 heater. That valve just lived under the kitchen cabinet area, so I could easily access it to open and close it to send propane to the heater. The Wave 3 heater worked surprisingly well, really, even at altitude. It managed to keep the camper moderately warm even before we had done any real changes to it. So I think the first night we had it out in the cold with the heater, I think it was like 20 outside and like 60 in here, which was a great start. It felt awesome at the time. I will say with the leaky camper with the holes in the canvas and the not redone insulation, the 3,000 BTUs was probably a little underpowered. I've now got the Buddy heater with the 18,000 BTUs, and we can get this thing cooking pretty quick in here. The other advantages of the Wave 3 was that it really did just sip propane. My 20-pound propane tanks were lasting me forever. The disadvantages, of course, that catalytic heater inside the camper is that A, you're fighting for oxygen with it, so there's a ton of controversy about the safety of those. I'm not going to get into it. Go check it out elsewhere. But also it adds moisture to your camper area. So with all that, you know, it's helpful, but it's not a home run solution. A wood fire stove in the camper would be the home run solution. I've thought about it so much, haven't figured out how to do it yet. I should probably collaborate with Four Wheel Camper and figure out a way to get wood fire stoves in here. That would be like the next level ski camper mobile then. Fun story about heating the camper. The second night I ever stayed in the camper was up on, what's it called? Rabbit Ears Pass outside of Steamboat Springs. It was -15. We had that heater going. didn't stand a chance. It was freezing in here. We've got really good sleeping bags, so once you're in the bags, you're fine, even if it's like -15 in the camper. One thing that was really funny about that was that in the morning I got up to make coffee, and I just had like water in an old carton, right? And it was just still because it'd sit there all night, and it obviously super cooled. And when I picked up the carton and went to pour it into my kettle to heat it up on the stove, it actually instantly froze, turned into slush because it had been super cooled liquid. That was really cool. And my wife is such a trooper. That was our second night in our camper, and we've come a long way since then. We're nice and toasty in here now, but we weren't that night. That finishes up our stove discussion. One of the projects I want to talk about that I actually did before I did the stove or the lifter panels was fix up the roof a little bit more. When I had it all at the camper, I noticed there was a couple of holes in it, probably just from normal wear and tear, maybe some low brushes, things like that. And so again, to make this thing a bit more waterproof, I actually did the soda or beer can fix, where you cut out a piece of aluminum from a beer can or soda can, get some JB Weld, and just kind of patch up the roof. Worked pretty well, actually. Did like 4 of those patches, and then I was on the roof. And so then I said, hey, why don't I just paint the roof while I'm up here too? So I went to the store, got some glossy Rust-Oleum white, and I started painting the roof as well. Again, we're getting into this slippery slope of a very aggressive rebuild, just based on some holes in the roof and some painting. But I was really happy with it. So that roof painting went really well. Paint the roof, you might as well take off the little brackets that hold the roof down. Might as well paint those brown while we're at it. So we spray painted those brown. Got the brackets off, and so you might as well paint the area underneath the brackets too. And so before you know it, I had painted like the first, I don't know, 10% of the top of the camper with a nice fresh white coat, and it actually looked fantastic. No, I went with the brown like accent pieces. I have no idea why I did that. In hindsight, I wish I'd done something else, but it works for what we're doing today, so we live with it. You can see I was quite excited about this new paint job. I also painted the door to the propane box area, and then that became like my sticker area, but I also made my ladder into my sticker area as well. So only the best stickers go on the door. All the regular stickers go on the ladder. But one thing that was disappointing during that painting process was I had to sacrifice the old 4-wheel camper stickers. Those stickers are actually awesome because they said made in Denver, because this camper was made in Denver. So I actually really valued those stickers. But good news, 4-wheel camper, I've been in touch with them, and some new stickers are on the way. I don't think they'll say made in Denver anymore, but at least we'll have some brand pride on this camper as well. Also, fun fact that happened while I was doing these initial projects, again, this happened in 2015, I believe, yeah. 2016, early 2016, late 2015, is I was posting this on my build page on One of the West, and actually the previous owner of this camper recognized it and said hi. So again, one of the positive things of the internet. Plenty of not positive things happen on the internet, but kind of connecting with someone that had owned this camper before and was excited to see me breathing new life into it is certainly a rewarding experience, and I'm glad that happened. At this point in the build, I still didn't know I was going full rebuild. Like I said before, a slippery slope. Started at this vent, spread to some paint. That paint started making its way down the sides, and in the next videos, you'll start to realize that that spread to everywhere. So that really wraps up today's video. Next videos will cover topics such as, we're going to be tearing out the roof, tearing out the walls, tearing out the floor, then putting in insulation in a new roof, putting in insulation and new walls, putting in a new floor, doing fresh paint everywhere. All of those you can expect in the coming weeks. We are on a weekly release schedule, Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I would love for you to subscribe to follow along in the remainder of this build series. I think it's going really well so far. If you have questions built up from the previous videos in this series, or just any of my truck camper videos, do hit me up in the comments below. I'll be sure to introduce a questions and answer section at the end of the videos if there is interest. Again, if you're a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing and following along. If you're not a subscriber yet, do consider hitting that subscribe button, maybe even the notification bell as well. We really appreciate everyone joining this crew as we learn more and more about these 4-wheel campers. I'm looking forward to the next few videos. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you later.